fucker hard. Sometimes that's just not right to do. Oh wait! This is the fucking best One Piece song in the world. Sometimes that's just not right to do. Oh wait! This is the fucking best One Piece song in the world. Saki no One Piece. Yo, what's his fucking name? Brooks song. Brooks song. Something sake. I like this little ball. It's fucking beast. Don't always have to fuck her hard. Sometimes that's just not right to do. But sometimes you got to make some love and fucking give her some smooches too. And sometimes you've got to squeeze. Sometimes you got to make some love and fucking give her some smooches too. And sometimes you got to squeeze. Why is my fucking thing so low? How do I? La 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 la. Why is my fucking thing so low? Shit. How do I? How's that? La 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 la. Is that better? How's that? Is that better? Yeah, that's way better. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Bucky. You modded, dog. This is gonna be the best fucking game in the world. Look at that shit. That's like both teams are fucking OP. Alright, guys, the plan is to shut down Soraka. Make her suck Khaleesi's caca. That's by Donkey. Copyright. Hold up, I'm gonna. Yeah, fucking microphones on the headphones, so I need to buy new headphones. Okay. Oh, Devil Game, this is a good one. Damn, like I want that fucking partner, dude. Hey.
This is a set of instructions for how to speak with the devil, which, as those of you with any sort of brains at all might note, is a potentially moronic proposition on the face of it, one likely to culminate in any form of thoroughly unpleasant fates. Honestly, it would probably be smarter to publish your credit card number on Facebook or take up a career in crocodile wrestling. But then, that isn't going to stop you, is it? Not if you're sincerely interested, at least. Technically, if you do everything just right, there's a fair chance that you'll walk away scot-free. And that seems to be reason enough for some people to decide that it's a good idea, especially if you are the fate-tempting, thrill-seeking, scare junkie type. Or the desperate type. Which brings me to a point of clarification that I ought to make. This is not a manual for making any kind of Faustian bargain. You know, the whole sell your soul type of deal. Although if you happen to bring it up in conversation, he certainly wouldn't be one to refuse. Following through with such a foolhardy bargain, however, would necessitate removing some of the protection which you'll put in place for your conversation. And I don't think I need to spell out for you why that would be a bad idea. If you're really mathematically impaired enough to want to trade something that will last an infinite number of years for something that might last about 90 tops, there are plenty of other rituals out there for you to follow. This one, if you perform correctly, should allow the two of you to talk. This perhaps begs the question of why exactly would you want to speak with the devil in the first place? Maybe some of you just like the idea of making small talk with extremely dangerous occult entities, but for the sake of the human race, I hope most of you aren't quite that stupid. Short answer is, he knows things. Things that some of you may have a deep vested interest in finding out. I mean, he's not omniscient or anything, much as he might like to pretend otherwise. He's not God, but he's definitely got a supernatural advantage over the kind of knowledge any human would be able to obtain. For example, he probably wouldn't be able to predict when the next world war will happen, or tell you the cure for cancer.
Fucking lagging.
But he could very well be able to predict the winning numbers for tomorrow's $500 million Powerball drawing, or tell you what deadly, undiagnosed condition might be afflicting one of your loved ones. Of course, the Prince of Darkness doesn't go around giving out winning lottery numbers to anybody who asks, and trusting any sort of information obtained from being commonly described as the father of all lies is liable to land you in a worse situation than you were when you started. However, if you're really dead set on finding something out, and you've exhausted all other options, there is a way to try to get accurate information out of the guy. You see, like so many of the most urbane villains in popular culture, the devil has a bit of a penchant for games, gambling. Of course, the reason that he likes them so much is that he almost always wins. Unless you happen to be a fiddler named Johnny, or being represented by Daniel Webster. You're probably going to get your ass handed to you. But if you're determined enough to want to face the risks and the long odds, there's a certain game the two of you could play to try to win the information you need. First things first, though. We'll start off with a description of the summoning process, then get into the rules of the game, some tips on how to play, and finally, of course, the inevitable litany of arcane shit that might go horribly, horribly wrong. In other words, in order to contact your conversational partner, you'll need to go to church at midnight. It doesn't matter what kind of church, large or small, old or new, liberal or conservative. Just as long as you're sure that it will be empty. The last thing you want is for some preacher to walk in on you while you're in the middle of this, for the sake of the preacher's well-being as much as your own. The process will probably work best if you try it on a new moon or full moon, or Friday the 13th or Halloween. The actual day is less important than the psychological effect that it has on you. As long as you don't try it on Christmas Eve or something stupid like that. You should be fine. The time is important, though. You don't have to start or end your ritual exactly 12 a.m. Greenwich Atomic Time or anything, but as a general rule of thumb, you want to show up a bit before midnight and have everything set up by no later than 10 or 15 after. Show up a lot before midnight if you don't know how you're going to get in. Shockingly enough, most houses of God do tend to lock their doors at night. At least, if no one's there to watch over them. And remember, we want empty. Got it? There are, of course, certain things that you need to bring, and certain things that you can't bring. For this ritual, you will need a full can of salt. You won't need to use all of it, but it's always better to have more than you need than have less. 7 candles, red or white being preferable. Something to light the candles with. You'd be shocked how often people forget this, occult ritual or not. They aren't going to magically light themselves. A length of red string, rope, yarn, or thread. A full-length floor or wall mirror. Ideally, you'll want to find one of those already present in the church. They're a bit unwieldy to be lugging around with you during a break-in. However, if there really aren't any there, you'll have to bring your own. You might also find it useful to bring some markers, pencils, paper, a flashlight, any sort of tools that might be necessary to secure your entrance into the church. You will not be permitted to bring in any electronic or timekeeping device. This includes all cell phones, smartphones, tablets, e-readers, MP3 players, PDAs, calculators, wristwatches, pocket watches, kitchen timers, hourglasses, etc., etc., etc. Seriously, it's worse than the SATs. If you're one of those people that has your smartphone practically wired into your brain, don't worry. You can bring those things with you to the church as long as you leave them outside the room in which you'll be doing the ritual. If you brought a flashlight, helpful for finding your way around without attracting unwanted attention, leave that outside too. Also, don't bring any sort of religious paraphernalia to protect you, especially if it pertains to the Abrahamic religions. And yes, if those gothy black cross earrings that you're wearing are hanging right side up, they can. If you have any kind of holy symbol like that with you, the devil will simply refuse to show up.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You're not going in totally unprotected. In fact, most of the supplies with you are not for any sort of devil summoning ritual, but for your own protection. Old superstitions and folk magic remedies to guard yourself from evil. From what I know of it, the effects mostly based on the power of belief, so there are probably numerous other objects, artifacts, and procedures that would work just as well. If you'd like to risk being left helpless at the mercy of the devil in order to test that theory, feel free to experiment. However, for anyone without a psychotic death wish, I'd recommend sticking to the ritual as follows. Once you're sure you have all the right supplies with you, make your way into the church and find some place to set up. It can be anywhere from the main sanctuary, where services are held, to a Sunday school classroom, to a walk-in supply closet. As long as you have a sufficient amount of open floor space and you're certain not to be disturbed, set up your mirror first. This is where the devil will appear when you summon him. As such, you mustn't complete the summoning until you break down certain wards around it. First, surround the mirror with an unbroken circle of salt. If the mirror is hanging on a wall or floor, lay down a semicircle around it instead. Make sure that the salt touches the wall at both ends. Then wrap your red string around the mirror several times. The color red, specifically red string, is symbolic of protection in the folklore of many cultures and religions. This is also why red candles are a good idea. And speaking of the candles, set them up around the outside of your circle or semicircle of salt, spacing at relatively even intervals. No, you don't have to get out a measuring tape and make it perfect, but do at least try to make it look as though it was set up by someone old enough to be trusted with matches. Light the candles in a clockwise fashion, being careful not to disturb the salt. If you break the circle, you'll have to start all over again. Once all the candles are lit and burning strongly, your protective wards are complete. You are now ready to proceed to the actual summoning. To do so, you must first get the devil's attention and demonstrate your resolve by performing some sort of sacrilegious act in the holy space. Turning a
I'm gonna have to
crucifix
turn
or
the
cross
fucking
upside
stream
down
off.
is fairly conventional, but it's not the only option. For example,
But I still want to.
Home. Written by Jeffrey Ebright. Narrated by Otis Gyrie. Featuring Mr. Creepypasta.
Oh, dude, how the fuck can you
Music
kill me like
and
that?
audio production by Jeff Clement. The early morning sun poked through my window, let me know it was time to get to work. I yawned, stretched, and put on a pair of shorts with a t-shirt. I could hear the cardinals chirping hello to the serene August morning. It was already in the mid-60s, which meant a very warm and humid day would be on its way. The kids would be here soon, and I needed to make sure everything was ready for the weekend. As the sun inched over the horizon and burned away the morning haze, I checked the cabins and found everything in place for the new campers. Food packed the cabinets and freezers in the mess hall, enough for a large contingent of children. This would be the last weekend of summer camp for the year. Once these kids were gone, the Winoka Nature Reserve would be shuttered and forgotten until spring returned to claim the reserve from winter's icy grip. I checked the list Roger had given me at the beginning of the camp season. I went through the list of participants and stopped at the last unchecked date. This weekend, I would help host the boys of St. Michael's Orphanage. Sorry, we don't use the word orphanage anymore. Political correctness sent out a memo calling St. Michael's a foster child care center. It doesn't matter what name they give it. St. Michael's houses all the unwanted children from broken and abandoned families. These kids were the modern-day wretched refuse the Statue of Liberty talks about on its base. If not for the sizable donation from the Joseph Swift Foundation, these kids would never step foot in Camp Winoka. They were truly the lost souls, and if not for a few caring individuals, would have slipped through the cracks of society without concern. For most of the camping season, snot-nosed rich kids ran around Winoka like they were personally responsible for nature itself. They were privileged, spoiled, and couldn't give a rat's ass about communing with nature and its wonders. The upside to those little rich kids was the money their parents shelled out for us to entertain and amuse their rotten brats for a week. Their cash kept Camp Winoka running and afforded the opportunity to bring in less fortunate kids for camp. Although most of these young souls had never been out of the city, they appreciated the commune with forest life. After 30 years as camp caretaker, this was my payment, seeing the wonder in their eyes when presented with the majesty of nature. With everything in order, I jumped on the camp's ATV and drove back to my Airstream trailer nestled off the camp proper. Looking in my bathroom mirror, I was a little unkempt. I swept back my salt and pepper hair, tied a rubber band around my ponytail, brushed out my beard, dabbed on some deodorant, and slipped into a clean yellow polo shirt with the camp crest. It was about 8 a.m., and the camp would come to life with new explorers soon. I fired up the ATV and went to base camp to await the last campers of the season. I had just finished a Red Delicious when I heard the bus rolling down the dirt road. The Winoka Nature Reserve was an isolated slice of forest in the southeast corner of Ohio. It covered over 400 acres of privately protected woods and wildlife. Hiking trails wound through the forest without a telephone pole or a skyscraper littering the landscape. The cabins, mess hall, and even the suspension bridge across Taylor Ravine were all built with solid 19th century ingenuity. A single dirt road was the only way in or out of the reserve. Roger was the first off the bus. As usual, he was filled with energy and covered in summer sweat. Although most counselors were teenagers trying to add a community service star to their college transcript, Roger had fallen in love with Camp Winoka and decided to make it a yearly commitment. He was an able-bodied guy, so I appreciated the help.
Jackson, how's it going, you old mountain man?
Roger thrust out a hand. I shook it. Everything's primed and ready to roll, Roger. While the other counselors tended to the kids, Roger slung an arm around my neck and walked me away from the unloading bus.
Listen, Jackson, there are 22 kids this year, all boys, so we can use cabins A, B, C, and we'll leave cabin D empty. There's a couple rowdy ones, but nothing we can't handle. After all, if we can't handle 24 kids for 3 days, we're in the wrong business.
He laughed and looked at me with a concerned expression.
How's your arthritis?
Good days and bad, Roger, I supplied, but nothing to keep me out of the game.
Good to hear. I'll get with you when the kids are done settling in, and we can go over the schedule. Here's to a great weekend.
He slapped me on the back and returned to the bus. The kids unloaded and settled into their assigned cabins without incident. From the checklist Roger gave me, the kids were 9 to 13 years old, most in the lower part of the age range. Just like every year, we gathered them together in the mess hall for introductions before lunch.
Good afternoon, campers.
Roger cheerfully bellowed. He was met with a semi-enthusiastic hello by the campers.
My name is Roger Lovek, but you can call me Roger. I'm the head counselor for your stay at Camp Winoka, and this
He pointed to the 4 yellow-shirted counselors.
is Gary, Glenn, Mitch, and Tom. And this is Mountain Man Jackson.
He pointed to me.
He takes care of the campground all year long and keeps it looking great. If you ever have any problems during your stay, please let myself or one of these men know. We are here to make sure that you have fun and stay safe.
Roger glanced to his clipboard.
With that in mind, we do have a few rules.
The children
God
heaved a
damn it.
collective sigh.
Come on, guys. The rules are here for your protection. The nearest city is 45 minutes away. The nearest hospital is over an hour. Play safe, stay safe, right? Rule number 1. Everyone needs to be in their assigned cabin by 9 o'clock. When you're in the wilderness, the temperature drops about 20 degrees once the sun sets. Unlike the city, there's no street lights. It gets really dark and very cold quickly. Rule number 2.
Fuck
Every
this
camper
shit.
will be
God
assigned
damn it,
a
dude, I wanna
buddy.
play this
Your
game.
buddy is to be with you at all times. Well, unless you're going to the bathroom.
Everybody chuckled at this.
Rule 3. Unless you're being led by a counselor, stick to the blue paths. If you look at your packets, you'll see the paths I'm talking about. Blue paths are safe to walk with your buddy. Red paths are trails approved for walking only when a counselor is with you. The black paths are off limits and are for staff members only. Rule number 4. Trail bikes, paddle boats, and canoes are available on a first-come, first-served basis. The sign-up sheet is located on the bulletin board outside the main cabin. We put up a new sheet after dinner for the next day of unscheduled activity time. And, before you ask, the ATV is for counselor use only. Rule number 5, be respectful of your counselors and fellow campers. We have opened this once-in-a-lifetime chance to enjoy nature. Take advantage of it, not the people around you, and you'll have a great time. What do you say?
The kids offered a civil round of applause. Roger waited for the smattering to die
God damn it, I wanted to play
And this
that game
year,
so
we are
bad.
offering a special surprise to the best campers. We'll be choosing 6 of the best campers for a Sunday night excursion to the Light of Hope